Good morning, YouTube. Good morning, folks on LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok. Hey, already got a hello over on YouTube. Camel, good morning. Good to see you. Hello, how are you? Brian says Camel on YouTube. Doing well. Doing well this Tuesday morning. Tuesday's a busy day for us at my law firm. We got like lots of strategic internal meetings that make the day full and busy for us. But it's a good day. It's a good day. Doing well. How are you doing, Camel? Let me know. Everyone else on YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, let me know how you're doing. Let me know for those of you who are regular watchers of the Asylum Answers show, where we're at right now on this show. Let me know. Do you notice anything different about my setup? Let me know. Let me know. For those of you keen observers who are frequent contributors or at least watchers of the Asylum Answer Show, what's different? Good morning. Good morning. I'm Brian Manning. I used to be an asylum officer with the government, but now I'm an asylum lawyer. In my law firm, it's called Political Asylum Lawyers, and we help immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. That's what we do all day, every day. Look, most immigration law firms that you're going to hear from and talk to, they do immigration based on family circumstances. They do it based on employment, based on investments, all kinds of stuff like this. We don't do that. We just do asylum. We are laser focused on asylum. I personally think that when it comes to really any professional service or pretty much anything, you should work with the person and take advice from the person that is really focused on the exact problem that you need solved. I analogize it to like going to a medical specialist, right? You go to your generalist, to your family doctor for a general problem, but if you got something serious, they don't treat you. They send you to a specialist. They send you to a cardiologist for your heart issue, right? That's the doctor who is thinking about and working on heart issues all day, every day. That's what they're laser focused on. I like to think of us as being laser focused like that on asylum. Asylum is complicated, all right? People say that immigration law is one of the more complicated areas of U.S. law in general. Within that, asylum is especially complicated and nuanced. And so I think it's not good for lawyers to dabble in asylum or to just do it every once in a while or to not really focus on it. I think that you should be laser focused on whatever problem you're trying to solve and getting to really know that area of law really, really well. So we do asylum all day, every day. That's what we do. Say hello to me. Let me know in the comments where you're watching us from this morning, where you're joining us from. Good morning. Good morning over on YouTube. Hello. We got Iffy Gaming says good morning, Brian. Good morning. We got Dizzy K says hola, Brian. ¿Qué tal? Dizzy K, tenemos un canal de YouTube en español que se llama Asilo Aprobado. Asilo Aprobado. Good morning, says Under Erdogan. Good morning, Under. Good to see you here. I assume you're from Turkey with that name. Yes, am I right? Beautiful country. Beautiful country. Hercules Ferreira says, good morning. Hey, Hercules, good to see you. Thank you for being here. I've been working hard recently, says Camel. Nice. Yes, your lamp's on the other side and new table mic too. Actually, it's just the mic. The lamp, no, the lamp's the same. The lamp is the same side. It's just the new mic. I used to use, let's see if I can do this without breaking things. I used to have this mic sitting in front of me like this. Now I've got this mic. So yeah, let me know, is the sound better? Because a couple of you were noting in the last few lives I've done that the audio seemed kind of low. Oh, good. So Feng Chong, Frank Emmanuel says your mic sound is perfect. Good. I was hoping to increase the quality and volume because a few of you had said, oh, the volume sounds low. So I was hoping to make that better with this new mic. All right. Who we got? Good morning. I'm about to answer your questions about winning asylum in America. So go ahead and start leaving them in the comments. Let me know what questions you have about winning asylum in the United States. I'm going to answer them. But I want to finish saying hello. Let me know where you're at, where you're watching from. Love to see where you guys are at. Feng Chong, where are you at? Frank Emmanuel, where are you watching us from? 23 drone view. That was you who commented on the setup. Thank you for noticing. Oh, good question. 23 drone view says, in immigration court, can we give a new declaration, say if we forgot initially in USCIS? Very good question, important question, because this is something that comes up all the time. or important thing to be aware of and account for. Oh wait, hold on 1 second. Yeah, we're good. So look, the question is this. Should you submit a new declaration in immigration court after you've already submitted one to the asylum office? Look, if you have a lawyer, yeah, I think so. If you don't, um, that's a tougher question. I don't know. Let me think about that. Probably not. I probably wouldn't if you don't have a lawyer. If you do have a lawyer, I would. So our people that hire us after they come from the asylum office and they're referred to immigration court, we get their declaration they wrote in immigration court. If they don't have a copy of it, we'll get it through the FOIA request, FOIA, Freedom of Information Act request. We do that no matter what, that request. So we'll get a copy of their entire immigration file. And we will do a new declaration for them in immigration court. Now, it needs to be hopefully consistent with what was in the declaration at USCIS. Sometimes it's not though. Sometimes the person's like, you know what, my declaration at USCIS was just wrong. It contained errors. We want to make sure that in immigration court, everything we submit is 100% true and accurate. So there may be inconsistencies with what was said at the asylum office or what was in your materials at the asylum office, including your declaration. But that's just something that we're going to have to deal with. We're going to have to explain to the judge, why that happened. But the answer to your question is, yeah, in immigration court, if you have a lawyer, I think you should definitely do a new declaration in immigration court, even though you have one that you submitted to the asylum office, to do it better, to do it in a way that judges want you to do it, that is more useful for the judge. So yeah. All right. All right. Let's go TikTok. Good morning. I haven't said hello to you guys yet. We got can I stop my asylum case because my U visa is pending? Bhavesh Gajar wants to know. Look, I wouldn't do that. The question basically is, the question is this, right? Can you and should you pause or take away or terminate your pending asylum claim when you've got another application pending? Like, let's say you've got maybe a U visa pending or a marriage-based green card case pending. Well, look, yeah, you could tell the, well, you can't pause it. You can't just say, I want to pause it and like put it on hold. That's not a thing. But you could ask to withdraw it, to basically terminate it, right? You shouldn't do that. In my opinion, you should keep pursuing every route available to you until you get a green card in your hand. So you never know what's going to happen with that other case, okay? Even if it's a marriage-based case, to a U.S. citizen and it's a legit marriage, you're really married for the right reasons, it's not immigration fraud. Even under that circumstance, these cases do get denied sometimes. So you want to keep pursuing everything available to you, including your asylum claim, unless and until you get that green card in your hand from something else. At that time, then sure, it's okay to withdraw your asylum claim. All right. Guy from Tennessee says, nice. Am I on legal status if I have pending asylum? I'm applying for Social Security card or Social Security number under my EAD. Ishanda, that's a tough question. Technically, no. Good question. So let me address it like this, right? The question is this. When you've got an asylum case pending, do you have legal status? No. You don't technically have lawful immigration status. Having a pending asylum application does not give you lawful immigration status. Doesn't matter whether it's with USCIS or pending with immigration court. You don't have, technically speaking, legal immigration status, but you have permission to be here, because the letter that you get from USCIS when you file your application, when you get the receipt notice, it says you have permission to remain in the United States while your case is pending, until your case is decided. You have permission to be here, but you don't technically have legal status. Now, is that a distinction without a difference? Pretty much, but maybe not, because the permission that you have to be here does mean, thankfully for you, that you do not accrue unlawful presence, which is relevant sometimes, especially if someone leaves the country and wants to come back in the future. Because if you get too much unlawful presence, you can be barred from coming back to the United States for 3 years or 10 years, depending on how much unlawful presence you have, whether you have more than 6 months or more than a year. So it's kind of it's a tricky, nuanced question of what is my status when I have pending asylum going on. You don't technically have lawful immigration status, but you have permission to be here and you are not accruing unlawful presence. If that helps, I don't know. All right, what do we got? Good morning. Good morning. If sorry, there's some good questions today, and thank you for sounding off and saying hello and letting me know where you're watching from. Hello, sir, says Marcelo over on TikTok. Good morning, Marcelo. Never say never. 881 is up in New York. Nice. I love New York City. Marcelo says on TikTok, how long does it take to have a letter from USCIS after being interviewed for my case? You mean to get the decision? Good question. The question is this: how long are you going to have to wait to get a decision in your asylum case after your interview with USCIS? It depends. What a lawyer answer, right? Look, it's impossible to predict this with much confidence, but at the end of your asylum interview, they'll tell you one of two things. They'll either say, come back in 2 weeks to pick it up in person, or they'll say, don't come back, we're going to mail it to you. If they say they're going to mail it to you, it's tough. It's going to take at least 2 weeks, probably 3 or 4. Honestly, the average is probably something over a month. And to be honest with you, often it takes longer than a month. Often it takes several months or even sometimes years. Unfortunately, you can't really predict that. Look, the fact that it might take a while, like several months, doesn't necessarily mean that there's a problem or that you're going to get denied. This happens all the time. It's normal. So don't worry if it does. But look, if you applied a long time ago, if you applied for asylum 5 or more years ago, and then you're waiting for many months after your interview to get the decision, you should consider talking with an asylum lawyer about possibly suing the government to force the decision in a mandamus lawsuit. Okay, that's what I think. Yeah, so let's go over to, let's see, back on TikTok. What was this? That was a good question. All right. If I, not Kien says, if I apply now, will I be scheduled for an interview immediately? So the question then, it looks like basically more or less is this. If you apply for asylum now with USCIS, how long are you going to have to wait to get your interview? Look, this is actually a surprising answer for a lot of people because everyone knows of people in their community, family, friends, whatever, that have been waiting for a very long time for their their asylum interview after applying 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. So it's surprising when I tell them, actually, if you apply right now, there's a decent chance that you're going to get your interview pretty much right away. Okay. It's a kind of a complicated, long backstory or explanation for why that is the case. Um, but it is the case. Most people, or at least many people who are applying for asylum recently in the last few months, are getting their interviews right away. So you got to be ready. You got to be ready to go, go, go. I hope you have a lawyer if you're applying now. I hope that your lawyer is actually putting together a case for you, both on paper, but then also preparing you for the interview. Okay. I'm gonna, for those of you who've been with me the last couple of days that I've gone live, I hope that you were on when I said this, when I talked about this thing. But I'm going to talk about this thing again in a couple of minutes. I'm going to talk about something special that we've been working up, that I've been spending a ton of time on to create a program that I think is going to help a lot of you. And I'm going to tell you about that in detail in just a minute to help you prepare for your asylum interview. But let me answer some more questions first. All right. All right. Oluwasai says, "Good morning, Brian. My friend filed for asylum in 2017, and his status says his next step is an in-person interview. Yep, that's normal, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen anytime soon. It could happen years from now. All right. So, look, the question then becomes basically this, right? The question is." Actually, let me address it. Let me hold on. Let me go back and address it like this. The question is this: what can you do if you applied for asylum several years ago and you're still waiting for your asylum interview? Look, you should sue the government. Look, you should at least talk with a lawyer about possibly suing the government, okay? I think the sooner that you get your interview and the sooner that you get your decision, the better your chances for success, okay? It's in your interest in terms of giving yourself the best possible chance to win your case. It's in your interest to do your interview sooner rather than later. And so for that reason, if you've been waiting 5 or more years, I think that you're in a pretty good position to have success with this mandamus lawsuit that we talk about. I talk about every day on here, right? It's a very powerful tool that we use all the time. We sue the government to force them to give you your asylum interview because they're supposed to act in a reasonable amount of time on every case. And when they don't do that, you can sue them to make them act, to make them do their job. Okay. And we do it all the time. And so if you've been waiting 5 or more years for your interview, I think you're in a good position to have success with this lawsuit called the mandamus lawsuit. We should talk about that. If you want to talk with us, guys, go to winasylum.com to schedule a consultation. WINASYLUM.com. That's where you can schedule a consultation or what we call an asylum strategy session with one of our asylum professionals. We want to get to know you. We want to talk with you about your situation, your case, and analyze your case and tell you whether we think we're in a position to help you. If we think that we're in a position to help you, we're going to explain how, or we're going to set forth for you exactly what the concrete steps are that we would take as part of our asylum action plan to give you the best possible chance of securing your future in America through asylum. All right. Nice. Let's go YouTube. How are you? Hercules. Nice. Hercules has 2 questions. Which is a better chance of winning asylum case, Massachusetts or New Hampshire? How do I become a paralegal? The first one, as between Massachusetts or New Hampshire, I'm pretty sure that those are both going to be under the Boston asylum office. So that it doesn't matter. It's the same approval rate if you're at the asylum offices. If you're an immigration court, I'm not sure, but I'm kind of confident that even the both of them would be at an immigration court in Boston. I'm not sure. I'm not positive about New Hampshire where they go for immigration court, but I assume it's probably Boston. So it's probably the same no matter what. Even if it's a different court, it's probably this. It's probably more or less similar, the approval rates. Okay. All right. Iffy Gaming says sounds much better, much clearer. Nice. Glad to hear. Glad to hear my new microphone is doing its job. What's your law? Under wants to know what's your law office approval rate? Good question. The question is this. So, what's my law firm's approval rate? Look, I haven't checked on this in a couple months, but last time I did, there was one statistic that stood out to me, which was that for cases where the person hired us from the very beginning, like before they applied for asylum, and we helped them apply, and then we went all the way through the case and they got a decision. For people that we help like this with USCIS. So I'm talking about affirmative asylum cases. Last I saw this a couple months ago or so, it was like 74% approval rate. Now, to give you context, the national approval rate last time that they gave statistics out for this, the asylum offices, I think it was like 28% approval rate. And I'm pretty sure it's gotten much lower since then. I'm pretty sure I'm confident that it's probably under a 20% approval rate at the asylum offices right now. Immigration courts came out with statistics recently, and I think the approval rate had dropped over the last few months from 52% down to 36%. So it's dropping drastically at the immigration courts. Pretty sure it's significantly lower at the asylum office. But our approval rate was at the asylum office when clients hired us from beginning to end was 74% as of a couple months ago. So several times higher than what is probably the national average for the asylum office. All right. Feng Chong's in Maryland, DC area. Nice. I love DC. One of my favorite cities in the world. Roberto is watching from the Bay Area. I love the Bay Area too. We've had New York, DC, and San Francisco. 3 of my favorite cities in the world. I love all 3 of those cities. Thanks, Roberto. Camel says, you inspired me to work at a law firm hopefully one day and help immigrants toward their story and dreams. As an asylum seeker myself, I feel what they feel. I started to learn Spanish for that. Oh, nice. Awesome. Thanks for commenting. I'm glad that you're inspired and motivated to help people. That's beautiful. Badru on YouTube says, good morning, sir. I'm happy and glad that you were part of my success in winning my asylum case. You're the best always. Awesome. Thanks, Badru. I love when Badru comes on and talks about how we helped him win his case. Badru is a loyal Asylum Answers show contributor and fan. So thank you, Badru, for coming on and saying nice things all the time. I appreciate it. And it's an honor and pleasure to have been part of your asylum journey, which was very successful. And we're very proud of that and super happy for you, Badru. Maryland says, okay, Feng Sheng, nice. Sam, SAM says, hi everyone. Good morning, Sam. What are chances in a court case, says Animax. Yeah, so good question. So the question then, I was addressing this a little bit a second ago, but I'm happy to say it again. The question is this: what is the asylum approval rate at the asylum offices and in immigration court? So immigration court, there are good statistics and recent statistics available for this, and I just saw this the other day. 36% approval rate nationwide in immigration court, down from 52% just a few months ago. I think maybe in September. Well, I guess that's about a year ago. So in the last year, it's dropped drastically from 52% to 36%. That's a huge drop. Asylum office, we don't know. They haven't published statistics in several years. 3 or 4 years ago, last time they published statistics, I think it was 20. It was either 28 or 20, I think it was 28% approval rate nationwide average. I'm pretty sure it's significantly lower than that now. I would guess under 20. I would guess it's 15 to 18, 19%. Definitely not more than 25% approval rate. I'm quite confident at the asylum offices. Not super inspiring, right? But keep the faith. People are winning asylum. My law firm keeps winning cases. Pretty much every day, it seems like we're getting a new approval notice for another family whose life is changed forever for the better through asylum, through the confidence and certainty they're getting through asylum. So it's hard. And I think it's only going to get harder during the Trump administration for the rest of it, but it's not impossible. We keep winning. People keep winning. If you want to talk with us about how we might be able to help you, please go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com, winasylum.com. All right. How long does it take to get your work permit after you've waited 180 days for asylum? Good question. And the question is this: how long does it take to get your work permit after you send in your application? We're talking about your EAD, your employment authorization document, also known as your work permit. We're talking about applying in the context where you're applying based on your pending asylum case, right? So you can apply at 150 days after you've applied for asylum. So 150 days after applying for asylum, you're eligible to apply for your work permit. But USCIS can't actually approve it until you reach 180 days after having applied for asylum. But usually it's pretty quick thereafter. Usually if you send your EAD application at 150 days, it's usually going to take a month and a half to 2 months for you to actually get back in the mail the approval letter and the actual card that is like the physical, the work permit card. Okay, so it's pretty quick for first-time applicants. I'm talking about first-time applicants, meaning the first time that you're applying for a work permit under this pending asylum sort of status. Okay, that's what I mean. All right. Haven Z says, hey, Brian, we just got granted asylum in Texas. Awesome. Nice. Congratulations, Haven Z. That's awesome. I'm really happy for you. Celebrating over here for you. Texas is tough. Texas is tough. Both the courts and the asylum office have low approval rates. It's not easy in Texas, but it's not impossible, as you're seeing with Haven Z, and we're seeing it with our clients all the time. It's hard, but it's not impossible. The question, though, is what can your firm help us with the green card application? Will you help us with the green card interview? The answer is, the question is this. So do we help people with green card applications at my law firm? Only asylees. We don't do green cards based on marriage. We don't do it based on employment or investment or any other kind of immigration case, except for people who are applying for a green card after having won asylum. Yes, we do those cases. And they can be tricky, to be honest with you. Often USCIS uses that opportunity to go through your whole case file with a fine-tooth comb to look for things that appear to be inconsistencies or problems that they can point to say, oh, we think you've been lying to us. We think you've committed fraud. And therefore, not only are we going to deny your green card application, we're actually going to try to take away your asylum case, okay? Your asylum status, I mean. This is, I think, becoming increasingly common, and it's hard to win, and it's hard to keep your asylum status once USCIS starts this process. So you got to do this green card application process. You got to do this carefully, okay, so that you don't end up in this difficult situation that I'm describing. All right. All right. Uh, nice. Let's go. TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. Good morning. Oh, good question, Sophia. What's the difference between Asylum strategy session and Asylum strategy session? The experience, the one with the experience, it just tells us that you're interested in the experience. You can still do the experience even if you book the one that's the normal Asylum strategy session. Okay, it's the same. Basically, it's the same. It just tells us. It tells my people, my Asylum professionals that you're going to be speaking with, kind of like where you booked the consultation. It's a way for us to track also just like who is booking the consultation after hearing about the experience. It's just a way for us to keep track of things, really. But it's the same. The consultation is the same. We're going to get to know you. We're going to get to know your case. We're going to get to understand your situation and tell you whether we think we can help you. If so, we're going to explain exactly what we would do to try to help you. Sophia, have you on TikTok? Have you booked yet? I'm guessing you've not, since you're asking what the difference is between the two different sessions that you've seen out there. Um, I, Sophia, if you're interested in the experience, you're pretty sure that's what you want to do, or at least that's what you really want to learn about, book through that. But if you're like, no, I think I want to hire Brian's firm for full scale representation, then you can do the other one. But it's fine if you do the experience and then you want full scale representation. That's fine too. All right. So it doesn't matter. Just talk with, just get on our schedule. Just get on one of my colleagues' schedule so we can get to know you, get to know your case, see if we can help you and explain how. Okay. Alrighty. Thanks for sharing the live, Snoppy. I appreciate that. Doaba boy, thanks for sharing the live. By the way, guys, share the live. Share the live for me. Come on, spread this love a little bit. All right. There may be other people out there in a similar situation to you who could be helped by something that we're talking about here today. Okay. Um, let's go. Yeah, actually, hold on. This is a good opportunity to do this because Sophia was asking about the experience. What is the experience? Here's the thing. Um, I was struggling with the fact that we charge a lot for our asylum cases. My law firm charges a lot. It's a lot of money to hire us from beginning to end. I think that's the best thing that you can do. The best way to help yourself to improve your chances for success is to hire my law firm from beginning to end, like what we call a full scale representation. That's how we can help you the most. But it's expensive. It's not. It's out of reach for a lot of people, and I was struggling with that. And so I started thinking, what else could we do? What could we do that provides real value, that really helps people, but isn't so expensive? Because look, we charge between like $11,000 and $16,000 for full scope representation. I was thinking, what could we do that's not that expensive, but really helps people? And then I thought, okay, look, the most important part of the representation that we do, the most important part is the preparation. Okay. Because the most important part of your asylum case is your testimony, what you say on the day of your asylum interview or your immigration court hearing. Okay. That is the most important part. What you say, which is called your testimony, what you say in telling your story and answering questions, that is the most important part of your case. It's much more important than what you said in your application form. It's much more important than what you say in any declaration you might submit. It's much more important than any evidence you submit. And it's much more important than having a lawyer represent you during your interview or hearing. Okay. What you say is the most important part of your case. That's what the judge cares about. That's what the asylum officer cares about more than anything by far. I say this as a former asylum officer with the government who now, I did thousands of interviews. I did thousands of immigration interviews when I was an immigration officer working for the government's two main agencies for refugee and asylum matters. And I'm telling you with high confidence and a lot of confidence that what you say matters on your interview or hearing matters way, way, way more than anything else. And so I was thinking, well, that's the most important thing. And our clients constantly tell us that after they win asylum, they tell us, that the key, the most important thing for them that helped them the most was the preparation, okay, that we did, the practice that we did for their interview. Okay. So I decided to try to start offering that as a standalone service. So what I'm saying is, just recently, as of a few weeks ago, you can now hire us just for preparation. Again, the best thing, in my opinion, is to hire us from beginning to end for full scope representation. But for some people, the timing doesn't allow that. For some people, the money is an issue and it's not possible. So what we're doing is we're offering the preparation, the most important part, as a standalone service such that it's much, much more affordable. Okay. It's only $3,000. I said earlier that the full scale representation is between $11,000 and $16,000. Well, this is a fraction of that cost. The what we call the mock asylum interview experience is a fraction of that. It's just $3,000. Okay, technically it's less. It's $2,997, basically $3,000. And it's the most important part. It's the preparation. So if your asylum interview has already been scheduled, you should call it. You should do a consultation immediately to learn more about the experience. But even if it hasn't been scheduled, you can do the experience now, and it's still going to help you no matter whether your interview is in 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, or 10 years, because we're going to do a full scale mock interview, practice interview from beginning to end. So you experience everything that you're going to experience on the day of the real interview. And then separately, we're going to do a debrief session, a separate practice session where we give you our feedback, all of our tips about how you can tell your story in a clearer, more impactful way, and answer your questions as well. And now here's the thing that makes it such that it doesn't matter whether your interview is next week or next year or in 5 years. We're going to record these sessions. You're going to get both the audio and the video and a transcript and like an AI generated summary of these practice sessions that you'll have access to so that you can keep studying them, keep reviewing them, and benefiting from them for years to come, I mean, depending on when your interview is, okay? So this is what we're offering. It's called the Mock Asylum Interview Experience, where we're going to do a full-scale mock interview, a debrief session, and then you're also going to get this study packet of the recordings, audio and video and transcripts and summaries of those 2 practice sessions. So that's what we can do for people. And it costs way less than hiring us for full scale representation, but it's the most important part, honestly. It's the most important part is the preparation. Okay. I bet Badru, are you still on here on YouTube? Badru, do you agree? Do you agree that the preparation, the practice sessions that you did, do you agree that that was like the key to your case? Did it help you, Badru, to go into your real interview with confidence, with peace of mind? Because you basically felt like you'd been there and done that. You know what it was like. You know what kind of questions you're going to get. You know what it feels like to be in that position. You know what the different procedures are for the day. All of this. And then getting feedback after your practice, your mock interview about what you did well and what you can do better and how to do it better gives you confidence. So, Badru, if you're still on here, let me know, do you agree with all that or am I misstating it? Anyway, so look, let me just finish with this on this bit. If you might be interested in getting our help with the preparation for asylum interviews, I want you to go to asylumprep.com. I'm going to put this in the chat. Into Asylum, I'm going to type this out. Asylum interview training, asylumprep.com. Asylum interview training is at asyluminterviewprep.com. I'm sending it on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook. I'm going to go over to TikTok and send it to you guys. Asyluminterviewprep.com. That it's a web page. It's a brand new web page. Let me know if you see any errors or anything because it's brand new. I just put it up on Sunday. But it's just a ton of information about what I just told you about in a lot more detail. I told you in a lot of detail a second ago, but it's a lot more detail. So it's like an endless scroll web page. It's super, super long with tons of information about the experience, the mock asylum interview experience, but also as we're launching this, we're offering some additional sort of bonuses in addition to the program that I described earlier. And you can schedule the consultation from that page, or there's a button to click on that page to go schedule your consultation. So go to asylumprep.com if you want to learn more about the mock asylum interview experience. I think it's a powerful tool to help you prepare for your interview, give you a much, much better chance of securing your future in America through asylum. Back to the questions. All right, let's go. YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok. Good morning. Where were we? Oh, we got where were we? Let me go here to how is the Arlington acceptance rate? In Arlington says crazy row eats world. So if you apply for asylum and you live in Arlington, you're talking about Arlington, Virginia. Arlington, Virginia, the asylum office in Arlington, it's pretty high. I don't remember what, I don't know what it is off the top of my head. I don't know at all because they haven't published statistics in several years. Arlington, though, historically has been among the higher rates. It's not as high as California. It's not as high as San Francisco or Los Angeles, but it tends to be one of the higher ones. It's good. I like Arlington. I like the Arlington Asylum Office. Well, I mean, as much as one can like USCIS. I say that as a former USCIS employee. Arlington's pretty good. You're in pretty good shape in Arlington. All right. All right. Let's go to the questions. Ajax says on YouTube says I got my assignment interview on 8/7. I guess you mean August 7. After waiting 8 years, my interview was 9 hours. Is that normal? And how do you think to get my letter? Wow. Okay. Ajax says their interview was 9 hours long, and they want to know, is that normal? So the question is this: is it normal for an asylum interview to last many hours, like 7, 8, 9 hours? This person's interview lasted 9 hours. Is that normal? No, it's not normal, but it's not that uncommon. Look, average interview time has actually dropped recently. It used to be over 3 hours on average. Now it's down to about 2.5. They're getting them done quicker now. Officers are trying to get 3 done. They are getting 3 done in a day instead of just 2. So they're having to make them shorter. 9 hours is very long. It's not unheard of. It's not that uncommon. Sometimes it just takes that long. Often it's a combination of things like complicated issues in your case, maybe security related questions where you've had contact with or at least been around criminals or terrorist organizations or something like that, that they have to ask you a bunch of security related questions about. They're like required to. And then often it'll also be an interviewer, an officer who's just not that good at asking the questions. Like they're just not a very good interviewer. And so it takes longer because they're not skilled at interviewing. There can be various reasons why it can take so long. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to lose your case. I've seen plenty of cases where the interview lasted 5, 6, 7, 8, or even more hours, where like they had to come back for a second day, and total it lasted 10 or 11 or 12 hours between the 2 days. I've seen those cases actually get approved. So don't lose hope. You may still get approved. Okay. Good luck. All right. Ramanjit Singh, 6 years. Do you mean you've been waiting for your assignment interview for 6 years, Ramanjit? Let me know. Ramanjit, you've been waiting. Can you tell me in the chat? You've been waiting for 6 years. All right. Then the question really is this: what can you do if you've been waiting for your asylum interview for 6 years? It's ridiculous that people are having to wait this long. You should sue. At least talk with an asylum lawyer about suing. Look, it's called a mandamus lawsuit. We do this all the time. We've done it, I think, around 200 times over the last 2 or so years in my office. And let me give a caveat, preface this by saying past performance does not guarantee future results, right? Now that I've said that, I'm proud to tell you that we haven't lost one of these cases yet. It's an extremely powerful tool. Look, I can't guarantee that it's going to keep working or going to work in your case or any particular case at all. But I tell you this to emphasize that it's a powerful tool. Our clients love it because it works. And I think the sooner you get your assignment interview, probably the better the chances for success. So if you've been waiting, in my office, we say 5 or more years. If you've been waiting 5 years or more, we think you're in a very good position to have success with this lawsuit, and we'd love to talk with you about it. I hope you'll go to winasylum.com to schedule a consultation to see if this mandamus lawsuit might be a good fit for you. We'll also talk about what we might be able to do to support you in your underlying asylum case, right? To improve your case and prepare you and help you to win your case. because this doesn't help. If you forcing your interview um, only to go on and lose your case is not great. You want to do both. You want to get the interview and you want to win your asylum case, right? So we want to talk about that with you. Go to winasylum.com. Schedule a consultation, please. Yilin Ong. Hey, Yilin, good to see you. It says good morning from San Jose, California. I've never been to San Jose, but I love Northern California, man. I love the Bay Area, and I think I would like San Jose. Bassam El Fadi wants to know on Facebook, when is the earliest I can apply for a green card after asylum being approved? When's the earliest I can send the documents so that I can get the green card come at the 1 year time? The day after you win asylum. The question is this. So when can you and when should you apply for your green card based on your asylum approval? I think you should apply the next day, the day after you win asylum. Look, it used to be the case that you could not apply for your green card until you had been waiting for 1 year after winning asylum. They would reject your application if they saw, oh, this person's applying at less than 1 year after winning asylum. But that changed, I don't know, a year or two ago. And now it's different. Now you can apply as soon as you win asylum, like the next day. USCIS still can't actually approve that application until you reach that 1 year mark. But here's the thing, there's a queue, there's a line. It's taking them over a year, like a year and a half last I checked, to actually adjudicate these applications, such that if you apply the day after you win asylum, they finally pick up your application and look at it a year and a half later. By that time, you do have the physical presence of 1 year required to be approved. Now, they're going to send you a request for evidence where they say, hey, we see that you applied before you reached a year. We need to see proof of your physical presence in the United States during that year after winning asylum. But then you comply, you send them the proof, and then they can approve your case. By applying right away, you're getting in the queue, you're getting in the line, instead of waiting for a year and then getting in line and then having to wait a year and a half. So basically, you can probably speed the process up drastically by applying right away. Okay. Have you guys won an asylum case for people from South Africa based on past persecution, but more so based on the fear of future persecution for being part of a racial minority? Yes. Yeah, actually, recently was the first time because I've talked to a lot of South Africans, a lot of Afrikaners, mainly about this, and a few have hired us, and the cases remain pending except for one. We finished one and we won it. The person got asylum, and it's tricky. But it's obviously it's not impossible. We just won it, so it's hard, I think, to do, but it's not impossible. It takes a lot of educating of the asylum officer to explain the dynamic there, because it's for us as Americans, it's the opposite, right? Of like what we have here. I mean, with the races on the other side. So, so it's tricky to sort of socialize that with them, with the asylum officer, but it's not impossible. I know South Africa well. I studied at UCT for a semester. I've spent time in South Africa twice, including for a semester. I studied at the law faculty for a semester at the University of Cape Town. I love it. Cape Town's one of the most beautiful cities in the world. Man, Cape Town's amazing. But not without its problems, right? South Africa has its problems. And yes, it is possible to win asylum under the circumstance that you're describing. And I appreciate PBH Corp. I appreciate the delicate way that you phrased that. I was granted asylum on August 8th. Oh yeah, nice. I love it. I'm not paying Kagan or Kagan T to say this. I promise you. On YouTube, Kagan, who is that? I'm trying to think of what client this is, based on your YouTube handle. Anyway, this person, our client, says, I was granted asylum on August 8th after 8 years of waiting. The mock interview helped tons. Be honest and know your case in and out. If you have money, Brian's team is your answer. Thank you again. You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. Kagan or Kagan, Was yours a mandamus case? Did we do a mandamus for you also to get the interview after 8 years? Um, because you mentioned the money aspect, and it's not cheap, right? But what we just started offering people a few weeks ago is the option to hire us just for the preparation, just for like the mock interview. Well, we call it the mock asylum interview experience because it's more than just doing a mock interview, but it's the preparation, which includes the mock interview. Um, all right. Awesome. Kagan, thanks for mentioning that. I appreciate it. Akhmat says, it's a pleasure to be here listening to you from Jersey City. Tomorrow I have my interview in Newark and I've been waiting 9 years. What do you advise? Nice. Uh, on my YouTube channel, go to the playlist that says Asylum interviews and look at the trainings there. I'm trying to think which one you should watch if you just have one day before your interview. Look, I think that there's a training about what happens at the Asylum interview. At this stage where you've just got one day left, I think that might be the most beneficial to really know what you're getting into tomorrow, exactly what happens, what the different phases are, and all that. Um, that's my advice. Okay, excuse me, Akhmat. Go on my YouTube channel. Go to the playlists and look at Asylum interview trainings. And yeah. Oh, Akhmat, this is cool. Akhmat says, my lawyer's from New York. I showed him your video, and even he knew that you're doing a good job. Oh, nice. Which video? Thank you, Akhmat, for saying that and for showing him. I wonder what video that was. That's cool. Bassam says, I received approval yesterday. Awesome. Congratulations, Bassam. That's awesome. Really happy for you. All right. Abu wants to know, when you went to Sterling, Virginia to represent a client, who and how and who was the judge and experience? It wasn't me. It was one of my colleagues. It was one of my associate attorneys. I don't remember. I don't know. I mentioned yesterday or the day before, right, that we had success recently in Sterling, but it wasn't me. It was one of my colleagues. I don't really do really any hearings or interviews. I am in charge of making sure that our overall quality is great, that our people are trained to do it the political asylum lawyer's way, both in how we prepare cases on paper and how we prepare people for the interview and how we represent them during the interview or hearing. I'm in charge of this sort of the more strategic stuff, bigger picture stuff, and making sure that we have a great team. But I don't personally really anymore go to really hardly any interviews or hearings. But my team is better than me. Honestly, I purposely hire people who I think are better than me when it comes to actually that kind of work. I like to think that I'm still the best when it comes to like the strategy overall. But when it comes to preparing you for your interview or your hearing and then actually representing you during it, my colleagues are better than me. It's not my strength. That is not my strength. I went out and I hired people who I thought would be better than me for that. So they're better than me. When you hire my law firm, you're almost certain you're not going to be dealing regularly with me, maybe not at all. And you're going to be with my colleagues, but they're better than me at this stuff that you really need the help with. Okay. It's my strategy. It's my frameworks for pursuing a case, but it's the day to day in the trenches with my colleagues who are better than me when it comes to this stuff, to preparing you and to representing you. Okay. Good luck with that interview, Abu, in Sterling. La Victor says, I have an interview next month in Houston. It's okay to be assisted by an attorney in the room on the day of the interview. Yeah, you can have an attorney with you. Your attorney can be, if you have an attorney, you have the right to have them be. Actually, let me back up and address it more formally like this. The question is this: can you, and if so, should you, take an asylum lawyer with you to your asylum interview with USCIS? Yeah, you have the right to have your attorney participate in the interview, and they can either be with you in person, or actually USCIS does allow lawyers to participate virtually. Sometimes that's by telephone, sometimes it's by video conference. It depends on the office and other stuff. But yeah, you have the right to have your lawyer participate, and the lawyer can make a difference. It is best to have a lawyer. Having said that, it doesn't matter as much as the preparation. If you had to choose between hiring a lawyer to take with you, but that lawyer is not going to prepare you intensively for the interview, including through a mock interview, if that's one choice, the other choice is hire an asylum lawyer for preparation to prepare you for the interview, you should choose the latter. You should choose the preparation. The preparation, including doing a full scale practice interview, a simulated interview, that is much, much, much more important and helpful, in my opinion, than having a lawyer represent you on the day of your interview. By far, by far. And that's what we're offering through the mock asylum interview experience. And by the way, Abu, you're asking about the mock interview. We do this both for mock interviews at the asylum office, but we'll also tweak it to do a mock hearing for you since it sounds like your case is an immigration court, right? So it's called the mock asylum interview experience, but we also do we can do a mock hearing. We do mock hearings for people that are in court because it's different, right? The procedure is different. Some of the bonuses that if you hire us for this, like right now in the coming days, you're going to get some additional training bonuses. If you go to this website, asylumprep.com, and you schedule your consultation there, and then you hire us for the mock asylum interview experience, you're going to get some sort of bonuses that are only available for a limited time. And those bonuses are like trainings and some other stuff that is more specific to asylum interviews than to immigration court hearings. But like 95% of what I say in those trainings is applicable to both. All right. It's applicable to both USCIS asylum interview context and also to the immigration court context. So it's still going to be super helpful. And then for your actual your practice session that is your mock interview, we'll do a mock hearing since you're in immigration court instead of a mock interview. Okay. But Abu wanted to know, what documents do you need if I contact you for the mock interview? Good question. The question is this. So if you hire us to do a mock interview with you, to basically prepare you for your interview through this service that we call the mock asylum interview experience, what documents do you need for that? Well, whatever you got. Look, we're gonna ask you to upload to a shared folder in Google Drive whatever you have. We're gonna say, hey, please try to put into one single PDF everything that you've received from the government, all the letters you've received from the government about your immigration case. And then in a separate PDF, put in everything that you have sent to the government. So ideally, it's best if you have a copy of your application, a copy of your declaration, and any evidence that you submitted. If you have those things, great, we're going to review them. The attorney who's going to do your mock asylum interview with you is going to review those before your practice session, before your practice interview, and they're going to test you against them. They're going to use them during the mock interview in the exact same way that the officer's going to use them during your real interview, to test you against it, to probe you on it. And so, yeah, if you have those things, great. If you don't have those things, it's okay. We can do it without them. We can start from scratch and still have a very effective and powerful, and I think extremely helpful mock interview experience for you. Okay. Akhmat says, I showed the video about lying in your country interview visa. You have if you've said yes about, yeah, gotcha. Thanks. Cool, Akhmat. Yeah, that's a tricky question. They trick people and trip people up with that question all the time. Good question. What are the possible ways the government might respond to a mandamus lawsuit in an asylum case besides scheduling the interview? Good question. So the question is this. What are possible responses when you file a mandamus lawsuit to try to force the government to schedule your delayed asylum interview? What are responses they might make other than just scheduling the interview? Well, look, when we sue the government, usually they reach out to us and we have to kind of negotiate. We have to do some lawyer negotiating with their lawyer to try to get them to agree to schedule the interview. If that doesn't happen, then they're going to file what's called a motion to dismiss in immigration court, which means they're fighting it. They're saying, Judge, we think you should toss this case out without even having a hearing in federal court on it, because we clearly should win under the law. Like, it's so clear that we shouldn't even need to have a hearing and have other proceedings about this. So we have to reply to that motion to dismiss. And that just kind of starts the legal battle in federal court. So we might win, we might lose. We might have to do an oral hearing about that motion to dismiss to see what the judge, wants to know, and they make a decision. then we might have to, if we win that motion to dismiss, but the government still doesn't give in and give us your interview, then we might have to keep doing like a full trial, a full case where we have to do what's called discovery, where we ask them for documents and they ask us for documents, and we do maybe even depositions of people, and then we have a trial, a hearing in federal court, and then the judge makes a decision. Now, if that process plays out and we do that whole process, it's going to take a long time, probably at least a year. But so far, we filed over 200, I think around 200 of these, something like that. We haven't lost one yet. Okay, we have not lost one yet. Normally, the government calls us, we do some negotiating, some strategic negotiating, and then we get the interview scheduled. Okay. Oh, nice. What's up? 77889 says, "Hey Brian, it's me, the Noid guy again. I've never seen that, but that's pretty funny. The Noid, it's me, the Noid guy again. I just signed the contract with you guys yesterday. All the faith in you and your team, and I'm hoping for the best." Awesome. Thank you. I'm glad you put your confidence in us. This is extremely important stuff we're talking about, guys. We're talking about your safety, your security, the life that you're trying to build here in America. So, when someone like the Noid guy, and then a couple other clients who are on YouTube right now, when you guys put your trust in us, we take it extremely seriously. Okay, it's a big deal. We recognize that, we appreciate that, and we're going to do our best to give you the best possible chance of winning your case. Okay. Nice. Nice. Thanks for that. By the way, has anyone gone to asylumprep.com today? I'd appreciate if you let me know if it's working, because on Sunday when I put it up live, it worked and then it didn't and then it did, so I was a little concerned about it working. I just checked on my end. I think it looks good to me. It opened up for me. If you went to asylumprep.com to check it out, let me know. Is it appearing properly for you? Did the page open up and it looks okay to you? Because this is new. This is a new program for us, and the web page just went up a couple days ago. All right, what do we got? Thank you for being with us. For those of you who just recently joined, I'm Brian Manning. I used to be an asylum officer with the government. Now I'm an asylum lawyer. And my law firm, it's called Political Asylum Lawyers, and we help immigrants all over the country. Doesn't matter where you live. We can help people all over the country. We help them to secure their future in America through asylum. Okay? All right. You may be, hey, Yub, YUB, you may be confused. You said that you had a session with Carlos, but you called back, you were told he left the firm. We haven't had a Carlos ever, I don't think. Are you confusing us with another law firm? Maybe. Yub, if you're positive you did a consultation with us and you want to talk with us about possibly getting our help still, send an email, please, to info at politicalasyluምላwyers.com. It should be the same email address from which you got emails after you did your consultation. If you want to talk again or you have follow-up questions, send an email, please, to info at politicalasyluምላwyers.com. Okay? All right. Nice. Sophia wants to know, if you represent us, will the lawyer be in the room for the actual interview? Also, I'm in New York City. Good question. So the question is this. So if you hire my law firm to represent you, will we actually be in the room with you for your affirmative asylum interview with USCIS? So look, our contract will say it's going to be virtual, that we're going to represent you virtually, meaning you have to be there in person. They make the applicant, that's you, actually be there in person. But they allow lawyers to participate virtually through video conference or telephone, just kind of depending on the policy of the office in question at the moment in question. And that's the default, right? That's our default. for several reasons. But look, we do the exact same thing, whether we're there in person or whether we do it virtually. Substantively, the value that we're adding to your case is exactly the same. Okay. However, we recognize that some people just, they feel more comfortable, right, with having their lawyer with them in the room. It brings them comfort. And so if you want us to be there in person, tell us that, and we can consider coming in person. We do this. We do travel all over the country for asylum interviews all the time, or frequently, but it costs a little bit more. So like the contract will be for virtual representation, but then after you hire us, if you're like, oh Brian, I want you guys to come in person, then we would see if we have availability, one of our lawyers to come to travel to be there in person, and if so, we'll say yep, and it would cost a little bit more. Like there's like a travel fee that you pay for that, and then we'll come in person, and we do it all the time. But what we do is the same. The value we're adding in terms of how we're helping you is the same, no matter whether we're there in person or virtually. But yeah, if you feel better about having a lawyer there, we can talk about that and see if we can make it work. Okay. Alrighty. Sophia, I hope you'll get on our schedule. All right. To talk with us, do a consultation with us, please. Mercy Chibok says, Helsa says, I did my assignment interview last week. Oh, nice. What office? How did it go? Oh, you already said it went well. 4 hours interview. Interesting. Yeah, I said a second ago that it's on average they're a little bit shorter now. They're about 2.5 hours. I saw this actually as part of our litigation from a mandamus lawsuit that they said in their filing that the interviews are like 2.5 hours now on average lately. Alicia says, I have a question. If you have been abused by your husband and you didn't report it, I guess you're asking, can you get asylum? The question is this: is it possible to win asylum based on abuse, domestic violence, like abuse by, let's say, your husband, even if you didn't report that to the police? Well, look, yes, it's possible. This can count as persecution on account of your membership in a particular social group, which is a weird phrase. It's the background, the reasoning behind this is like complicated, but don't worry about it. The important thing is that yes, this can count as a type of valid persecution for purposes of winning asylum. Now, the aspect of you not reporting it makes it more complicated because you have to then show that the government was either unable or unwilling to protect you. And in this case, since you didn't report it, it's like, well, how could they protect you if they didn't even know what was going on? Well, the answer to that is that we might be able to have a good answer using country conditions information. That if it is the case that there's lots of reports from reputable sources that say, look, domestic violence in this country is so bad that it's just over the top and it's out of control, and the police are either overwhelmed and they cannot do anything about it normally, or maybe they don't care. They don't even want to try to do it. They just say, oh, a man should be able to do what he wants, and they don't take these kind of reports seriously. Those are the kinds of things that we would be looking for to help make the argument that the authorities are either unable or unwilling to help you. So it's possible, but it's tough. There's a lot to be done to make this a winning case. If you, in fact, were Alicia, if you were subjected to domestic violence or abuse, I'm really sorry to hear that. I don't know if you're asking for yourself or a friend or whatever, but whoever it was, I'm really sorry if that happened. That's terrible. I'm really sorry to hear that. Okay. All right. Liberato Talicaro wants to know, he says, they say, I'm from Venezuela. What happens if they arrest, I assume you're saying Maduro, you said mature, but I assume you mean Maduro, right? What happens if they arrest Maduro? What would happen to those in asylum? Look, a drastic change in country conditions would make it probably harder to win asylum, but it doesn't mean it's going to be impossible. Just the arrest of Maduro is not going to change anything overnight. If several months later or a year or two later, it's clear that, like, conditions have changed such that, let's say that PSUV is no longer in power, the opposition has taken power, and therefore, people who were the political opposition under the Maduro regime are no longer being persecuted on a vast scale, then that would drastically change the chances for success for Venezuelan asylum seekers, right? But just the arrest of Maduro, no, that's by itself is not going to change really anything, and especially not going to change anything overnight anytime soon. Okay. Um, oh no. Palco de Verbo says, "Good morning. I have my immigration appointment. I'm sick. Should I call to reschedule?" Yeah, yeah. If you're sick and you can't perform well, or because you may get other people sick, then yeah, you should reschedule. All right. Um, Nails by Karina says, I went to the New Jersey asylum office to get my asylum answer, and they sent me home. Is that good? Good question. The question is this: what does it mean if you were told to return to the asylum office 2 weeks after your interview to pick up your decision, but you go there and they say, "Oh, never mind. We don't have it for you. You got to go home. Sorry." It just means they haven't gotten the case done yet. Look, it's very frequent. It frequently happens that you get a phone call or an email, usually a phone call, a day or two or three before your pickup date. And they say, actually, you know what? We're not going to have your decision ready by then, so don't come in. We're going to mail it to you. Sometimes they just forget to make that call to notify you, or they don't realize in time that they are not going to be ready, and so they don't make the call at all. And then you show up on the day that you're supposed to show up, where the asylum officer told you, hey, show up in 2 weeks. You show up in 2 weeks, and they're like, oh, nope, sorry, we haven't done all the processing to finalize a decision, so we don't have anything to give you. We haven't done the decision yet. It doesn't mean anything about your case substantively. It doesn't mean that you're going to lose or that there's a problem with your case. It just means they haven't gotten around. It almost certainly means they just haven't gotten around to doing all the processing they need to do to come to a decision and finalize it and do the processes around that decision making. Okay. So don't worry about it in terms of, any potential negative implications for your case. Okay. Oh, nice. Nicola Monster 525 says, we booked an appointment for Saturday. We look forward to working with your firm. Awesome. Nicola just booked a consultation over on TikTok, an asylum strategy session with one of our asylum professionals. All right. You can do that. Everyone else can do that at winasylum.com. WINASYLUM.com. Go to winasylum.com and schedule an asylum strategy session right now. Okay. Now, Warbashi Zero says, does applying for bankruptcy affect an asylum decision? Good question. The question is this: will having financial difficulties, including filing for bankruptcy, negatively affect your asylum claim? And the answer, thankfully, is no. It's not something the officer cares about. In fact, it's not something that I think the officer will know about or ask about. It's just not the kind of question that you get. They don't ask you, have you ever applied for filed for bankruptcy or been delinquent on debts or anything like that. They don't ask those questions, and they don't really care. It's not really relevant to the asylum eligibility analysis. The asylum officer wants to know whether you meet the strict requirements for asylum. That's what they care about. And that's what they want to know about. That's what they want you to talk about during your testimony. And a lot of asylum seekers struggle with this, and they want to tell the officer how great of a person they are, how much they love America, and all of this stuff, and impress the officer, when the officer doesn't care about that. The officer wants to know how you match up against the asylum eligibility requirements, and learning to tell your story in a way that addresses those issues that the officer cares about is critical to winning your case. And that's what we teach people in our mock asylum interview experience, is how to tell your story in a way that gives the officer exactly the information they need to see that you qualify for asylum. Okay. If you're interested in learning more about our asylum interview training, go to this website, asylumprep.com. Okay. I'm going to put it in the chat right now. It's asylumprep.com. Go to asylumprep.com to get a lot more information about. It's a webpage with tons of information about what we call the mock asylum interview experience. All right. Uh, Annie says on Facebook says USCIS is calling people for asylum pending since 2016, 2017, 2018. I haven't been called yet. I'm from 2017. Do you think I could sue USCIS or should I wait for them to call me? Look, it's not that simple, and it's not that straightforward. Like, oh, they're now calling 2017, therefore I'm 2017, therefore I'm going to get called soon. It's not like that. It's the way that they schedule interviews and the amount of people they're calling from the backlog from many years ago and how they do it is complicated. It's not as simple as like, oh, they're on that particular year, therefore I'll be next because I'm in the next year. It's not that simple. So my answer to your question is you should sue them. I think that if you there's a good chance that you will not receive your interview anytime soon unless you sue. So I think that yeah, I think you should talk with an asylum lawyer about suing. Okay. All right. Uh, White South African race. I've seen people try to look PBH Corp. I've seen other lawyers try to frame this for like farmers as like, oh, to try to do a particular social group as like, white South African farmers or something like that. But I don't, particular social groups are tricky. My approach is you don't want to try to argue that if you have another good argument for one of the other four protected grounds, unless the particular social group at issue is one of the one of the accepted ones. The USCIS officers are taught, oh, that works, that counts as a particular social group, and this is not one of them. In this case, it would be race. Okay. All right. That's going to be it for today, guys. Look, if you think you might want help preparing for your asylum interview, go to asylumprep.com. When you go to that page, if you scroll way down and keep reading, you're going to see that for a limited time we're offering some bonuses, like a very special package um, that is for a limited time. And it doesn't matter whether you already have an interview scheduled or whether you don't. Because if you don't, you might have an interview soon, you might not. It might be months or years before your interview is scheduled. But doing this experience now, the preparation now, is still going to be beneficial to you, no matter whether your interview's in 1 month, 1 year, 5 years, whatever, because we're going to do the practice sessions now, but you're going to get the recordings, the audio, the video, the transcript, the summaries of those practice sessions that you're going to keep benefiting from no matter when your interview is. And we might not keep offering this service. It's new. We're offering this as a standalone service outside of the context of like a full representation. We're offering this as a standalone service only recently for a few weeks, and I don't know if it's going to last. Um, and and so if you think you might want help, now is the time to inquire about it. But you got to do a consultation first. You can't skip straight to the mock interview. We need to talk with you, get to know uh, your situation, your case, and see whether you qualify. Because not everyone qualifies. Okay. So you got to do a consultation first. But if you go to asylumprep.com, there's tons of information about the mock asylum interview experience, and then there's a blue box throughout that you can click on to go schedule the consultation to see if you qualify for the mock asylum interview experience. Okay. All right, that's going to be it for today. Thank you so much for being with me. As always, it really is a pleasure to support you in your asylum journey. I'm Brian Manning, and we'll see you next time. We'll see you on the next live. Bye, guys. YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok. Thank you for being with me today. Truly, as always, a pleasure and an honor, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Bye, guys.